Jimmie Johnson and Chad Knaus go into the Hall of Fame together. Ross Chastain reveals a refreshing new look. And Cody Ware is expected to race in 2024. How does he fit into Rick Ware Racing's new identity? How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. Happy Monday. I hope you had a fantastic weekend. We've got lots of NASCAR news to catch up on. First and foremost, Phoenix Raceway just put championship weekend tickets on sale. Just a quick PSA in case you're interested. I know last year, championship race tickets sold out like in the early summer, way ahead of schedule. I know this year the race will be the second weekend in November, and it won't be Kevin Harvick, Phoenix Phenom's final NASCAR Cup Series start. But if you have a special seat in mind, you probably should take a look. Phoenix Raceway championship tickets are on sale. I hope you all had a great weekend. This weekend kicked off with the NASCAR Hall of Fame induction ceremony honoring the class of 2024. We'll talk all about Jimmie Johnson and his legacy, no pun intended, in just a few moments. I had a pretty good weekend, though I think I may have come down with a bit of a cold. I apologize if my voice sounds a little scratchier than normal. I need something refreshing, something cool and crisp. Hey, how about Ross Chastain's brand new Busch Light paint scheme? We've seen glimpses of this design in the past. Now it's great to see the official full wrap, fully revealed, fully exposed to all of us. Busch Beer joining Trackhouse after spending the past, many seasons with Stewart-Haas Racing and Kevin Harvick. I've always been a fan of the blue, white, silver Busch Light scheme variations, but something about this one just looks new. I think it's the white roof, the white on the A, B, and C posts. Something about that looks especially clean. I don't think we've seen that from Kevin Harvick schemes in recent years. I like it. Trackhouse adding their own slight touch gives this scheme a slightly different feel from the Busch Beer paint schemes we've come to know and love. Good looking race car. Can't wait to see it on track this year. That was refreshing. Hopefully I sound a little better now. Let's talk about the NASCAR Hall of Fame. Jimmie Johnson, Chad Knaus, Donnie Allison are your class of 2024. They were inducted a few nights ago. All very deserving, of course, but I want to focus on Jimmie Johnson, 7-time championship driver, 83-time winner, ties him with the late, great Cale Yarborough for 6th on the all-time wins list. And hey, with Jimmie Johnson making at least 8 or 9 starts this year, he's got a realistic shot at getting 84 while driving the number 84 car. Ooh, I see what you did there. This time of year is always focused on celebrating the legacy, another pun, of these great drivers, crew chiefs, and figures from the sport's history. What is Jimmie Johnson's legacy? Personally, for me, he's the driver that made NASCAR boring for a couple of years there. There's a stretch from about 2009, 2010. I didn't watch a whole lot of NASCAR, could be fully transparent about that. I was 11, 12, 13 years old. I was playing a lot of baseball at the time, so during the spring and summer months, every weekend I was somewhere playing in tournaments. It was hard for me to keep up with the races naturally, but with Jimmie winning championship after championship after championship, I'll be honest, I was burned out. I was a kid. My attention span was this. Obviously, he didn't keep me away from the sport for long, but more broadly, what is Jimmie Johnson's legacy? Jeff Gordon, Rick Hendrick took a big chance on him. Jimmie Johnson came to prominence right at the peak of NASCAR's popularity. Jimmie Johnson only spent 2 years racing in the Winston Cup Series. Jimmie truly began to build his legacy in the Sprint and Nextel eras. And I go like this because that's also when NASCAR sort of began to fluctuate. The rise, the heyday was becoming a thing of the past. NASCAR was changing substantially year after year after year. And that's when Jimmie Johnson, with Chad Knaus, did their damage. When I think of Jimmie Johnson and Chad Knaus's legacies, I feel they should be praised for their adaptability. They won 7 championships, obviously, across 3 different generations of cars, across at least 3 different playoff formats. The original chase, the wild card chase, they won in the knockout round playoff format in 2016 when it was truly the wild, wild west. To quote Denny Hamlin, I believe. Jimmie Johnson was never a big, bold personality, but he raced and won during a stretch of time when NASCAR was making big, bold changes every single year. He won just about everything there is to win. He won most of it more than once. To me, that is what makes Jimmie Johnson so impressive. Not only did he win during one of NASCAR's most competitive eras, but he also won during kind of a disjointed era of NASCAR racing with constant format and car changes. Jimmie Johnson and Chad Knaus more times than not bubbled to the front of the pack. It was boring to watch as an 11, 12-year-old for a couple of years there. But looking back, you have to appreciate the sheer dominance. They figured it out. They're going into the Hall of Fame together. Well deserved. It's weird, though, because Jimmie Johnson is still racing. He'll make 9 Cup Series starts this year. And so, of course, this begs the question, does Jimmie Johnson's recent, I guess, shall we say, struggles? He went winless his final 3 years in the 48, missed the playoffs his final year. Last year in the 84 on a part-time basis didn't look amazing. Do these past few years hurt Jimmie Johnson's legacy? The answer to me is obviously yes. If you are racing on track, continuing your competitive career, you are adding to your legacy in either a positive, negative, or maybe a neutral way. I'm not just going to pretend that 2018, 2019, 2020, 2023 just don't count. Those races matter. But put your pitchforks down. That being said, these final few years, I would say, are but a tiny smudge on Jimmie Johnson's otherwise picture-perfect resume. Sure, the past few years are fresh on our minds right now, but 10, 15, 20 years from now, just like how we ignore Richard Petty's final 7, 8 years, just like how we ignore, for the most part, the end of Darrell Waltrip's career, just like how I choose to ignore the final year and a half or so of Matt Kenseth's career, we won't remember the end. We will only remember Jimmie Johnson's dominant stretch. 5 straight championships, 2 more later in his career, somehow tied Richard Petty and Dale Earnhardt's mark in an era when we didn't think that was possible. Every race matters, but the success Jimmie and Chad had for 15 plus years stands out. Decades from now, we will only remember how great Jimmie Johnson was as a driver, how great Chad Knaus was as a crew chief, and who knows, we may even be applauding Jimmie Johnson as a team owner, depending on how Legacy Motor Club turns out over the next few years. Share your thoughts down in the comment section below. If you watched NASCAR during the Jimmie Johnson era, what do you remember of the mid to late 2000s, the 2010s, the force that was the 48 team? Leave a comment. I'd be curious to hear what you think. Finally, I want to discuss a story that broke yesterday. The Daytona Beach News Journal reports that Cody Ware will share the number 15 Cup Series car with Kaz Grala this year, beginning in April. Cody Ware said, quote, "It's not set in stone, but tentatively plans are to be back in the Cup car in April. We're dotting our I's and crossing our T's there with sponsorships and getting everything lined up. After my suspension last year, I lost the majority of my sponsorships, so we're trying to build everything back up after that." Cody Ware faced assault charges last April of 2023, and was subsequently suspended by NASCAR. Now, a few months back, he was reinstated by NASCAR after those assault charges were dropped. I don't think it's right to speculate or discuss serious personal matters or make any sort of snap judgments, especially when we don't know all the facts. So I primarily want to focus on the racing side of this story. I've been very complimentary of Rick Ware Racing the past few weeks for making positive strides towards being more competitive on the racetrack. They've signed Justin Haley, who's a solid young driver. He's won multiple races in the Xfinity Series. They're teaming him up with a recent Truck Series championship crew chief in Chris Lawson. Recently, they announced young, talented road course specialist Kaz Grala will make 25 starts. RWR is on RFK's campus. They're sharing data back and forth. A ton of positive changes. I completely understand the family connection, of course. Rick Ware's spending a lot to build this race team. He wants to give his son opportunities. He wants to give his son the opportunity to silence the doubters, to reestablish himself after that off-track controversy. I completely get it. But that being said, I'm not sure Cody Ware really fits what Rick Ware Racing is building now. We've seen Cody Ware in the Cup Series now. He's 28 years old, and watching from the stands, it just feels like he's out there managing races, doing what he can, trying to avoid making any big mistakes. He's not getting the most out of the car. I don't think he's bringing any fresh perspective now to the team. When Rick Ware Racing brought Ryan Newman in for some races last year, that is a fresh perspective. That guy's got some great insight. They've had JJ Yaley, a solid veteran, Andy Lally, who's sort of a specialist at road courses. Cole Custer drove the 51 last year, defending Xfinity Series champion. All these drivers bringing either veteran experience and knowledge, or they're young guys like Cole Custer, who we know are pushing these cars to the limits, getting the most out of them. I don't really see Cody Ware fitting into that mold. Now, I will say this, I'm getting way ahead of myself. Justin Haley is driving the 51 full-time. Kaz Grala will drive the 15 for 2/3 of the season. At most, we're talking about maybe 10 races for Cody Ware. That's significant, but it's not like it was before where Cody Ware is the anchor of the team racing full-time. So I don't want to make too big a deal out of this, and I do want to be fair to Cody Ware, because I am being a little critical. I don't really think he's the guy. But if you just look at the numbers last season, Cody Ware had a better average finish than everyone in the 51 except JJ Yaley. Better average finish than Cole Custer, better average finish than Newman, Brennan Poole, Andy Lally, just ever so slightly, and he only made 7 starts, not a large sample size, but that is something. Again, I have to be fair to Cody Ware. I don't know exactly where things stand between Rick Ware Racing and NASCAR when it comes to their charters, because at the end of 2023, due to poor performance, NASCAR had the right to confiscate one of Rick Ware Racing's charters. They chose not to and said the reason was because, hey, Rick Ware's trying to be more competitive. They have gotten faster. They cited the RFK Technical Alliance. They mentioned the signing of Justin Haley. NASCAR chose not to confiscate one of Rick Ware Racing's charters because they felt Rick Ware Racing was making the necessary changes to get more competitive. That's why I bring this up, because bringing Cody Ware back in, even just for 10 races, to me is not Rick Ware Racing getting better. I don't know how NASCAR would look at that if the 15 or the 51, I don't remember which charter is actually in the most danger. But if they finish bottom 3 in owners' points again this year, which even with Justin Haley and Kaz Grala, I feel is fairly likely, I wonder if NASCAR will step in. I don't know. What kind of pressure could they put on Rick Ware Racing if things don't go according to plan this year? That's just bigger picture, looking out, months down the line. Something to consider. Again, not getting into personal stuff, we don't know all the facts, just on the racetrack. How do you feel about Rick Ware bringing his son Cody Ware back into the fold? It's only for 10 races, and we know how important family connections have been to race teams in NASCAR for decades and decades and decades. Do you have any issue with it? Do you completely understand? Are you a fan of the move? Not a fan of the move? Let me know down in the comment section below. That'll do it for this episode, y'all. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. The season is right around the corner. You won't want to miss a thing. And a huge thank you to my Patreon supporters as always. Less than 2 weeks now until the Clash. Got a lot of exciting things planned between now and then. Thanks for tuning in, folks. I'll catch you in the next episode.